Good afternoon, everybody. As we have been moving, I want to share with you, just before my presentation, as I'm a neurologist, I think I want to teach you another way to move while we wait. You don't do anything, just stay still, think to move, and your brain will activate as much as when you're moving. So that is the neuroscience telling us that your brain in the movement area is moving even when you think to move. So sometimes if you're lazy, you don't need to move, think to move, and the brain will activate in any case. So that's just waiting for my slides. I mean, it's just going against our lecture that we just had, but for lazy people, it is also nice to think that you can just do nothing, stay there, think, and it will be the same effect. So, I mean, let's go now to our presentation. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Matilde Leonardi. I'm the leader of the Work Package 8, but here I'm speaking on behalf of all my partners and group, and I'm going to present very briefly the issue that I was assigned, that is, in fact, health in all sectors, starting from the issue that I assume that in this room we are going to have 25 people that are suffering at least of one of the following diseases: headache or depression or low back pain, or maybe had depression or other mental health problems. You might have pain, some musculoskeletal disorders. In any case, more than 50% of you is wearing glasses. I think that at least 15 don't hear so much well because you didn't hear, maybe it's 20%. And this is, in a sense, the situation that you find in a normal working environment. 25% of workers have one or more chronic disease, and usually they're hidden in the work environment because that is work. And 1 out of 4 is in fact suffering from a chronic disease, and I think we are so lucky to be in Chrodis Plus. We had the opportunity to have 22 representatives of ministries of health and more than 46 institutions that are here discussing the issue that health is relevant for people. And even if it's not a right, because you cannot have the right to be completely healthy, but you have the duty to try to stay healthy. And I think that where do you express your healthiest? In the environment where you live. So people are not just alone, isolated, they are in environment. And the employment sector is one of the crucial environments for people's life. And we have to tackle the environment where people live. And I think that we have the opportunity through Chrodis to take employment as one of the key sectors where people can be reached. Not only those who are having a chronic condition, but before the chronic condition appears. And the people with chronic disease that already develop one, they have difficulties in the workplace, and particularly some diseases that are quite hidden, the so-called invisible diseases, they are causing even more burden to the people and to the employment sector for several reasons that I'm going to show in a minute. What it is certainly true is that there are also some social issues related to the employment that are related to the fact that if you have one or more chronic diseases, you might have difficulties in being employed. I think we should not forget that if you look at the European situation now, we have a before 40 generation and the after 40 generation. And the facing of employment of the before 40 generation is completely different from the facing the employment of those who are after 40. Because the work now, the way in work is developed, the way in which work is done is very different and causes a lot of issues. How or to whom do I speak? To which employer do I speak? If you are a smart worker, working on your own at home on a computer and not going to a workplace. So who can be my target if you are alone doing your own initiative without anybody taking care of you, without anybody that has the duty to, in a sense, collaborate and help you with your health? And I think that the sickness, the absence for sickness are much higher in those who are already suffering for a chronic disease compared to the population that is not presenting any disease. So there is what the WHO calls the global emergency of non-communicable diseases, and there is a lot that can be done. I think Chrodis is the European response to this. It's a joint action that is trying to compete at the international level with the issue of chronic disease. And in the globalization of information, I think that Europe should push, and we have here the European representative, Europe should push the effort that 22 countries are doing to fight the chronic disease epidemics. And the labor market is one of those fields in which it is crucial to understand and to listen to the point of view of all the stakeholders involved. And this is what we do in Chrodis Plus. We try to listen to everybody, and we try to take the perspective of the different stakeholders. We are also beneficiaries of one previous project that is called Pathways, which is telling, in fact, that when you speak about chronic disease in the workplace, if you look at the problems of the employers, they would say that having a person with a chronic disease in the work sector is perceiving like less productivity, or they are complaining for frequent absenteeism or for extra costs for the enterprise. Also, co-workers, they feel that it is annoying to have a colleague that is doing absence for the disease. But the main issue that we want to show is that in this 3-year project in Europe, where we have been interviewing people with chronic disease all over Europe, it was very striking to see that there are commonalities that are complained by people with chronic disease. First of all, fatigue, feeling of depression, feeling alone, lack of understanding from others, many times also stigma. If you are diagnosed with the multiple sclerosis, for example, and you are still a young woman that is working, you might be deprived from an advancement of career because of that diagnosis, even if nobody will ever tell you because it's unconstitutional to tell it to you. So the workplace then, for us, has been divided in Work Package 8 as the place where you can do promotion of health habits and health attitudes, and this is mostly done by the colleagues from the THL in Finland. And they are leading the issue that workplace health promotion benefits all the stakeholders that are in the employment. So it benefits the employee because it increases the workability, the well-being, the satisfaction, and reduce absenteeism. It benefits the employer for an increase in productivity. And I understand there are people from OECD that are going to sort of join the Chrodis Plus, and we would be really pleased in Work Package 8 to have some economic evaluation of how much does it reward €1 invested in prevention and promotion in the workplace for people that are having sort of any kind of support. But also there is a benefit for society. We don't see it, and it's difficult for politics to understand it. Benefits for society are long-term benefits. They are not going to happen the next year after you start an action, but they are going to happen in the long term and in the longitudinal perspective of a society. We are thinking that health in all sectors means introducing health employment at the end of the healthcare pathway. Of course, we have scientific societies supporting us with this. We have all the vocational rehabilitation, the occupational therapies. All people say, in fact, what we want you, after a stroke, after a disease, is going back to work. That is something that is very relevant. People, if they want, they should be put in the position to choose to go back to work. We are producing a document together with Work Package 6 that is going to be like a tool on how you can implement through case managers the issue in the Chrodis multimorbidity care model. We don't do in the pilots, but at least as recommendation and as a result of Work Package 6 and 8, this is what we're going to produce. But what we have to produce, because these are our deliverables, is 2 tools. One is the Chrodis training tool for managers, and the other is the toolkit to support employees' well-being, health, and work participation. Yesterday, we presented for the first time the pre-final draft of the training tool for managers. Why managers? Because if you convince the head, then you're sure that you are going to have some results down in the employment sector. And there will be some different parts of this tool, which has been developed by a very big collaborative effort with all the Chrodis Plus partners in Work Package 8. It is going to be tested in Italy, France, Spain, Germany, Hungary, Lithuania, and Slovenia. Sorry for not putting it here. But the pilot testing will end up in December this year. It will be translated in these languages, and it will be also tested in different large and medium enterprise. Equally, the toolkit for employees' well-being, health, and work participation, developed under the coordination of the colleagues from Finland, is going to be also tested after they've been developing it with literature review and pilot testing already in large enterprise, large and medium enterprise. It's going to be tested in Finland, Italy, Germany, Spain, Belgium, and the Netherlands. They are going to finish January 2020 their field trial. And we're going, at the beginning of next year, at the beginning of our last year of Chrodis, to have something that together we're going to call the Chrodis Toolbox. That is devoted to improving the well-being of people who are all the workers. So we think that the inclusive approach is good. And we're going also to work for those who are developing a disease in the workplace. Together, they are going to aim to work participation. Participation is the other key word, together with inclusiveness. So the Chrodis Toolbox will be not something, another thing that is already there. It will be another thing, but with a different purpose. We're not going to replace what national countries develop, what NGOs develop. We're going to develop a meta-language. We want to produce the common language from Europe that is going to be used if you want to have a referral point from the employment sector on the two actions, that is promotion and prevention, as well as maintenance and return to work. We think that chronic disease in the employment sector is a rising issue. It was difficult at the beginning to speak with the health sector and bringing in the welfare sector. And it was also difficult for the welfare sector to understand the health sector. But I think that at the end, we succeed. And the work led by Jana and Eva from Finland and by Erika, Fabiola, Chiara, and Claudia from my group will lead us to be, as I showed this morning, proudly part of the Chrodis Plus. And I repeat this because I think it's nice to see this picture. And I thank you, Budapest, for hosting us and sharing our results with you. Thank you very much.